Okay, welcome. Today I wanted to offer some reflections about trauma and addictions, and in particular this idea around support, the importance of having support. So, enjoy. Okay, so yesterday for my podcast I was talking to Alistair Richardson, whose episode will go live on Friday. And in it, he is talking about his speciality, which is he works with addictions, and he's worked for the Priory. For those of you who are not in the UK, the Priory is an addiction special, a bit like, I think is it the Ann Ford Clinic or something like that in America. So it's like an addiction therapy space for people. He's also worked in Harley Street as well, which is kind of one of the main locations for kind of well-known doctors in the UK. So we were just talking about this idea of addictions, and one of the things he came up with and was sharing was this idea that the importance of support. While it's really important for us to do the inner work, going in, clearing the memories, saying it's also important to have that support network. So in the 12-step program, with AA or Codependence Anonymous, things like that, he says, you've got this support network. So the idea is, if you've got a struggle, you've got someone you can call. So it might be, they call them in AA a sponsor. So we were just talking about that. So the interesting thing about Aleister is he was an ex-boarder, so he went to boarding school at 7, and he shares some of his journey in the interview. So today I just wanted to talk a little bit, and I'm just reading Judith Herman's book Trauma and Recovery, and Joy Chevron talks about her quite a bit in her book about boarding school syndrome. But I just thought I would talk a little bit about this importance of social support for addictions. So what she says here is, because traumatic life events invariably cause damage to relationships, people in the survivor's social world have the power to influence the outcome of the trauma. A supportive response from other people may mitigate the impact of the event, while a hostile or negative response may compound the damage and aggravate the traumatic syndrome. In the aftermath of traumatic life events, survivors are highly vulnerable. Their sense of self has been shattered. That sense can be rebuilt only as it was built initially, in connection with others. So I feel, if we come back to boarding school syndrome, the idea that we have that separation. So Joy Chevron talks about the ABC, the abandonment, bereavement, captivity. So that bereavement, you leave your family, age 11, age 8, age 5. So you have that traumatic life event on one level. It's like that separation. But often, for me, boarding school, it's not a supportive environment. That, you have that trauma, and then people in the dormitory says, fine, yeah, you're welcome to cry. It's all right to grieve. We'll be there for you. You will have one-to-one support with an adult. We don't get that. So what happens is that a hostile or negative response may compound the damage and aggravate the traumatic syndrome. So that for me is what happens at boarding school. So how we resolve this is, it's finding that connection with others. So it might be, Codependence Anonymous. You find a group of people. It might be, I have a men's circle, and many of the people in my men's circle are ex-boarders. It's like that support network that we can talk through stuff, we can work through stuff. So I just kind of really wanted to share about that. And I think one of the things that we have as ex-boarders is this idea that at the beginning, certainly, that I don't need any help. And Alistair was sharing this. I see we put ourselves on pedestals, or we put ourselves beneath others. So if we have an addiction, often we don't ask for help. We might say, who am I to ask for help? Or, I don't need support. And certainly this was me at the beginning. 2002, living in a Buddhist monastery. The abbot said to me, come and see me, I'll be there to support you. For months I didn't go and see him. I just got on. And eventually I took him up on his offer, and it was like, right, going to ask for help. So I think this is really key for us to go, actually, yeah, I am worthy of, getting help. I'm worthy of getting support here. So, that's one of the things. The other thing is, this idea that I'm better than others, or maybe I know more. And I think we're just talking with some friends about that. The idea of, I feel, sometimes on the healing journey, we can feel we know a lot of stuff. It's like, I might feel that I know lots about boarding school syndrome. I'm a teacher, and it's like, no, I've got as much stuff as you do. It's just different flavour. And it's like having that humility. And how I like to teach it is to my own students is this idea of, I'm always a teacher and I'm always a student. Just as you will always be a teacher and you will always be a student. As soon as you get these gurus or these teachers say, I'm sorted, I'm just the teacher, that's when they fall flat on their face. I should be that way around. So I think it's really important for us to remember that yeah, I need support. I have my own therapists that I work with, and I can support others. So it's kind of just seeing that. And I think part of us overcoming addictions is being able to ask for support and go, okay, yeah, I need help here. I don't know it all. I know, I love what the Buddha said about, the teachings. He's talking about the teachings, and saying that this handful of leaves, he says, this is the knowledge that I teach you. This handful of leaves, but the knowledge that I know is like the expanse of knowledge in the of all the leaves in this forest. And I think that's, for me, is like, yeah, I know very little, and I've got so much left to learn. And often when we have an addiction, we kind of feel like, oh, I know what I need to do, but actually we need that support. And I think for me, another aspect of addictions is this idea of grief, and I like what Judith Herman talks about grief. Says, finally, the survivor needs help from others to mourn her losses. All of the classic writings ultimately recognize the necessity of mourning and reconstruction of the resolution of traumatic life events. Failure to complete the normal process of grieving perpetuates the traumatic reaction. Lifton observes that unresolved or incomplete mourning results in stasis and entrapment in the traumatic process. So I think this is, again, very key for us as ex-boarders is, I couldn't cry for years. And now it's like I allow myself to cry most days. It's like, it's not all the time, but a few minutes in my morning practice, I'll do a bit of laughter, or I'll do working out and there's some tears there. And I tap, EFT, and let it go. And boom, it's gone again. So I think it's that, having that ability to flow with our emotions. And Joy Chevron said in the interview I did with her, we need to move through the grief, because then we can connect with the joy. The interview I did with Rod Boothroyd, same thing. The king archetype, the other side of the grief, is our joy. So we need to feel the tears. And that brings, as Judith Herman says, brings the recovery through, and helps us to heal. So yeah, it's on two aspects really. It's like with addictions, we need to process, grieve, let the tears go. And then the other side of that, we then, need the support to go, yeah, I could do with a hand here. I need help. Because that's how we heal. So, yeah, just some ideas there, some reflections. Any questions, please do let me know. So I'll put up Alistair's Richardson's interview on Friday at midday. So if you go onto my channel, it's not up yet, but it will go up in the next day or so. You can just click watch later and it will kind of notify you when it comes up. So that's all about addiction, about asking questions about boarding school, childhood trauma, and what we can do to start to heal those addictions. So many blessings to you, and thank you for watching, and thank you for doing the work. Okay, take care.